And we're live. I think everyone starts their podcast like that. And we're live.
Right?
What's up, everyone? We got another phenomenal guest lined up here for you all today. Travis Smith. Travis is a multi-business owner, an absolute mastermind when it comes to businesses, online communities, and networking. He's a founder of several wildly successful Facebook groups, collectively boasting over 100,000 members. Travis has cracked the code on not just building a massive following, but also effectively monetizing and turning these communities into thriving businesses. We'll also chat about how he's bringing this online community to local communities. There are two exciting upcoming events in DFW, brand new line of events. Sorry, I was just reading something real quick. I just got a little error message. There are two exciting upcoming events in DFW, brand new line of events, brand new people, brand new ideas, and one of them is hosted by none other than Travis himself. So you know it's going to be an absolute must attend. A quick intro and word from our sponsors. Haha. Facebook is Facebook for individuals and businesses all began with a vision, a community where like-minded individuals could gather on social media to share their passions, experience, and knowledge for a brighter future. Our mission is simple: to foster growth, development, and keep pushing everyone forward. We believe everyone has the potential to succeed, and we're here to support that journey. Join our community of leaders and visionaries as we learn, grow, and build a brighter future together. For those on YouTube and other platforms, this is originally a Facebook group, and we're going to be keeping it here. Join our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/finance for individuals and businesses. Facebook.com/groups/finance for individuals and businesses. We'll see you there. Whether you're an entrepreneur looking to join or build a thriving community, or simply someone who wants to leverage the power of Facebook for business growth, this is an this episode is an absolute goldmine. Travis's insights and real-world experience are truly invaluable, and I have no doubt that you'll walk away with a wealth of actionable strategies to implement in your own endeavors. All right, enough of me. Let's bring Travis on. Travis, welcome to the show. It's an honor to have you here. Before we start, let's wish Travis a happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, man.
Appreciate that.
Yep, since it's Travis's birthday, we're definitely going to leave that up for a little bit, actually. And everyone can chime in and just say happy birthday. Wish you a happy birthday. Um, I know you kind of keep to yourself on your birthday. Is that something that you always done?
No, I used to throw, before I got married and everything, I used to throw some pretty big bangers for my birthday. I always enjoyed my birthday. I always like to celebrate it. And, gosh, there was quite a few times where we would party till like 5 or 6 in the morning because I used to throw the after parties at my house.
Nice.
And we'd have some good times, some real
Yeah,
good times.
yeah, for sure. So I know social media, there's millions of people on social media. Not a lot of people have really mastered it. Um, and I want people to kind of understand how big this network grows. Whenever you start something on Facebook and really start branching out and being open-minded to other business ideas and partnerships. Um, can you tell us a little bit about the group, where it is now, and not necessarily how it started, but how you got that idea to create something like that?
So right now we're a little bit over 100,000 people in our groups across 21 locations in Texas, but obviously the big four cities. Austin is where we originally started. I guess about 4 years ago now. And so that one has, I think, like 43,000 people in it. And then Houston has about 14,000. And then Dallas and San Antonio have, I think, combined about 12, 13,000. And they're growing by the hundreds each week. All of them are. It's pretty cool to see. And I really got the idea from when we would go to look, because I had a construction company for a while, and when we would go to look, even from a real estate investor standpoint, for a contractor, for a plumber, for whatever, Google kind of sucks because you can buy reviews. You could go through 10 different companies. You don't really know who you're getting. And there's just something about being able to see who a person is on Facebook or what they are on Facebook. It's a little more personable. You can kind of see who's going into your house and those kind of things. You can see who you might be working with. And so we always thought that that would be a better avenue for people, especially in such an unregulated state like Texas, for people to find good folks. And a lot of people like that idea. We put a lot of effort into the group, unlike some other groups. And that's not a shot at them. They're just not, they're not built that way, right?
Right.
We put a lot of effort into kind of manicuring the group where it's people that you can count on, who you rely on, and quite frankly, it becomes this premium space that people want to be in. And from there, it just like skyrocketed. I mean, even the Austin group, we monetized that June 1st of last year, and it's almost doubled since then. Whereas a lot of people were like, "Oh, you do this, and it's going to be the end of the group. I'm leaving." I had people send me all sorts of horrible messages about how I was ruining Facebook and attacking free speech and things like that. So, but yet here we are, doing better than we ever have. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, right. I was one of the original supporters of
Yes.
monetizing.
Yes.
Um,
Thank you.
I'm very familiar with vendor management and how that all works, and especially whenever you have all these just normal civilians who know nothing about contracting or construction, they'll just pay anyone almost anything, just to get something done. They don't know if they're being screwed over or not. So it's always good.
Exactly.
It's great to have a community to come to and just have a reliable source to lean on, especially if you're like in certain cities, in certain areas, and that could be like your entire book of business and referrals. Like you can get right into the game and just become a member and immediately have an entire network. It's definitely been cool to watch it grow. It's definitely been cool to watch it grow. Do you have any things that you'll be doing in the future that you can talk about with the group besides like the events and stuff?
Um, Outside of the events, we're adding more features such as the classes that we've been doing,
Hmm.
where we bring in lawyers, and we'll talk about contracts and liens. We'll have masterminds, where we bring in experts in the field, and they'll kind of teach not just to the other people in their field, but regular customers and clients. This is how you do a roof. This is how you replace a water line. Things like that that just kind
Right.
of enrich the community. And we are in the back development for an app. That's something we want to add to the tool belt as well. And there's a few other things that are kind of in the very beginning stages, but we want to continue to try and bring as much value to our members as possible.
Right. And that's kind of why I started this podcast because I saw so many valuable members in the group that maybe social media wasn't their thing. Maybe they're good with just talking. So I've had a handful of people on here and they've done awesome. I think a podcast really shows a lot of your authenticity. So you know that it's just not some guy using ChatGPT to,
Right.
or now it's Meta AI. Yeah, it's just it's out there
There's a lot of spam and bots out there, but I'm with you on the podcast. As you know, and you were a guest on ours a couple weeks ago.
for sure.
Fantastic guest, by the way. That was one of our best shows.
Thank you.
And you're absolutely right. You get on here for 15 minutes, 30 minutes. Gabe and I have riffed for like an hour and a half one night. Like, it's not scripted.
No,
You are who you are, and as it goes along, you really get to see who people are. So it's kind of cool, and it's good to humanize and be able to put our faces out there when people are associating us with a group. They know who they're going to be working with.
yeah. Yeah, being able to see a face before you meet it makes a pretty big difference. One thing, and this could be an idea for you, but I can't remember what company it was. It was some pest control company, but they had sent a picture of the professional via text before he arrived and like just pretty much gave that handoff, virtual handoff. So whenever he
Yep.
got there, I knew exactly who he was. There was no mistake in it. He obviously didn't know what I look like, but what are you going to do? As a contractor. But I thought that was just such a great handoff. But it's the same exact concept with using contractor connection. You're able to see their face. You're able to even see their public posts, what they care about. Maybe there's common ground. Maybe you guys like the same football team. Maybe you guys hate each other's football team. Yeah, there's a lot of different things that you could talk to people about, and it's not always about business. And that's the thing that a lot of people get caught up with. I actually made a post earlier this morning. It's build genuine connections, don't collect business cards, something like that, but kind of kind of along that route. Um, but your Facebook groups, whenever you started building it, you had a team of people.
No, it was my former business partner. His name is Scott Sledge. An absolute, just one of the smartest people I've ever met. And he and I had started this group before called Contractor Underground, and that didn't go. After about a year or two of helping the guy who runs it now help him, there was just a difference in opinions on how things should go.
Mhm.
And so Scott and I embarked on Contractor Connection a little bit after that, and then just kind of took off from there. But it was basically just us two. And then after about mid 21, when he retired, it was just me by myself until about I guess about a year ago, when Gabriel Spencer, as you know,
Mhm.
the connection came into the picture and started really helping me with some of the technical things, with some of the macro things. He and I jive really well. But yeah, for about a 2.5 year stretch, it was literally just me by myself in there, just kind of, building what I thought would be something cool. I would be lying if I didn't say this had been some sort of long-term goal with that group, was to get it into a verified and then monetized thing. And Gabe just kind of helped take that over the top and help us bring that to reality.
Right. Um, I'm curious what kind of strategies he used to help grow the group and create that authentic side, because one thing that I did, and it's kind of a common thing on Facebook now, adding friends that are business owners, but you do it selectively. Like you can go to any group and you see go to the members and you see members with things in common, members near me. So I always went with members near me because I know it's going to be local. Then I just look for titles, founder, CEO, whatever. Just added all those and then added them to the group if they accepted my friend request. So there's obviously some drop off here and there, but that's pretty much how we were able to build ours.
That's actually a pretty good idea. We've stopped doing as much outreach for membership, although we're running a Facebook ad in both Austin and Houston for those, just to
Nice,
kind of
nice.
bring in. But they're not really to bring in members as much as it is to bring in more customers, right?
Right.
And by customers, I don't mean people that pay us for the subscriptions. I mean people who are just looking for work, and looking to get work done.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been doing some ad spend with that. But what our focus lately has been is doing some reach out to other business owners. I love your idea that you have there, because we just go through like just kind of Facebook search and shotgun it and
Right.
find companies we think would be good verified members, and I started cold messaging them,
Right.
especially in Houston. Austin seems to organically grow so well. And Amarillo has done so too. Houston has just been a bit of a stickler for us.
Yeah, that's interesting because Houston is kind of the bigger city, it seems like. It's definitely the biggest city in
Huge.
Texas. Yeah. What does it take like an hour and a half to get across? Something like that? without traffic?
Without traffic, yes, because I've actually had to make that drive going from went out to Florida a couple years ago. So you get on Houston from Austin 290, and
Yeah.
you get in from the west side, and you find I-10 downtown, and that takes you all the way out east. And we actually didn't have much traffic because there had been a really bad storm.
Hmm.
And it still did take every bit of an hour and a half until you get outside of what I would consider, actual Houston,
Yeah.
where there's some sort of break before you get to like Beaumont and Port Arthur.
Right. Right. That's funny. I did want to bring it back to the group one more time. I've been asking a bunch of questions about the group, but we haven't actually talked about what the group is. Do you mind telling us about the group, the name of the group, and what you're leveraging and using it for?
Yeah, so the name of the group is Contractor Connection, and then whichever city it might happen to be in. So for Contractor Connection, Austin would be an excellent example of that. What we try to do is take the guesswork out of hiring contractors, trades, and all sorts of subcontractors. I think we're up to about 45 categories now. We go through, we have people who are interested or we reach out to, they apply. We check their insurance. We make sure they're able to practice business in Texas, keeping up on your franchise. If they're licensed, we make sure to get with TDLR to make sure that our license is active. It's actually who they say they are, because some people will try to use other people's license. Say, oh, well, I'm working under this person, but I could still know that doesn't work like that. And then we do a little bit of background checking into it. Um, that's kind of limited for us, but we see pretty quickly how people interact in the group and get feedback on people, which has so far been overwhelmingly positive. So essentially try to be risk mitigation for, whether it's a general contractor who is just trying to not go through so many people and not have such a turnover rate, or who's new to the area and doesn't have a clue on even who to ask, where to hire a person from. We want to be that space for people. We want to eliminate the number of people who, oh, I paid this person $5,000 for materials, they took off, and they never came back. That happens a lot in Texas. We want to kind of work against that as much as possible by simply promoting and putting forth good companies that don't do those type of things in the first place.
Right. It's definitely hard to find good help. So it's good to find a network of vetted individuals and vetted companies. Vendor management isn't easy either. I know you just talking about it and people hearing it, it might sound easy to them, but there's a lot of processes that go into third party management or vendor management, even, I mean, any kind of management, but vendor management specifically, because you have all these people who want to get in on the action, but they, not all of them are on the up and up. You have to
Yeah.
really pay attention.
Yep.
And obviously it has to be pretty organized. So that's definitely a big piece. The DFW event, man. Tell us about it.
I'm pumped. All right, we're gonna be in Fort Worth at Lil Woodrow's, um, and we've done a few events at other Woodrow's across Texas. So excited about this. This is our first DFW event. I'm excited to meet you in person.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Um,
Likewise.
I'm excited to Dallas is probably our fastest growing group right now, the DFW. And so excited to meet some people, and start making that a monthly trip, go up there as many times as I need and start building out the infrastructure there that we have in San Antonio, Austin, and Dallas. I mean, in Houston.
Hmm.
So we'll have, it's a good mixer. People come together. It's generally business to business on the happy hours, but we do have some people come in. And one of the things that Contractor Connection is about, and that connection is about, is connecting real estate and construction and insurance
Hmm.
together in the holy triangle of B2B work right there. And so if you're in any of those, or if you just want to meet somebody, we'd love to see you come out. May 7th, 6 to 8. It'll be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to partying.
May 7th, 6 to 8, Woodrose in Fort Worth.
Yep.
It's going to be crazy.
It's going to be a lot of fun. The first hour is all, or I should say, the first 30 minutes is usually kind of like serious, and people are talking to each other, and it's
Right.
business card oriented. But the vast majority of people drink, and usually by that second hour, like people are having a pretty good time, you know. And then it's funny because as much you made a good point earlier about as opposed to a business card oriented being personality oriented, you get into that second hour and you get a few drinks into you find the personalities of a lot of people for that. So that's when some real friends and real connections have been made for me at a lot of these events. Is they never end right on time, right? Like people are having
Right.
conversations. There's another bell that we ring and are like, all right, everybody's got to go home. You know, like they generally roll sometimes. Tacos and tequila went on for like an hour and a half after it was supposed to end. So
That's awesome.
it's just people having a good time.
Yeah, no, it's alcohol definitely loosens lips. Helps people
Yeah.
talk. Helps people talk for sure. I'm an introvert. I know you might not think so, but I'm an introvert for sure. And I don't like I like animals more than humans. We'll put it that way. But yeah, I don't like talking as you there? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm just an introvert. That's just what it comes down to. But I actually make cold calls every single morning, almost every single morning, to get out of my little shell. But yeah, I do cold calls for my business. It's a really good exercise, and I've done it for the past couple of years. Um, but yeah, it's awesome. Um, who's going to be at the event? Is it you? Is Gabe going to be there?
I will definitely be there. I'm not sure if Gabriel will be there, but I hope so. As you know, he's out of Amarillo right now.
Right.
So that's somewhat closer, but
Hmm.
Amarillo, yes, it's North Texas, and yes, Dallas are North Texas. They're still not exactly like right next to each other, right?
Right. 6 hours or something like
So
that.
I'll check in with Gabriel. I'm not sure if he's going to go or not, but I will definitely be there. And possibly Yaritza,
Hmm.
who is really big in our Austin group. She's one of the most active members. Just fantastic at helping us grow, especially because she's Spanish. She's bilingual. So she has a Spanish podcast with us, and it's
I
great.
saw that.
Yeah,
That's such a good idea, man. Such a good idea.
we love it. And there it really because one of the communities that's kind of, I wouldn't say our target, but working with the English second language communities who aren't used to, that's what like the legal class is for, right? For contracts and liens, so they can understand there's more business nuance that we can teach and bring, and Yaritz is a real driving force behind that. So hopefully she goes up there because she is fantastic to work with, as far as bringing in the Hispanic community and helping them feel like, this is a place for them just as much as it is anybody else.
Right. Right. No, and I don't know if you know, I mean, I'm sure you do, but white people are now the minority in
Yeah.
Texas.
Well, and I grew up in a town called Victoria, Texas, where it was already like 65% Hispanic, because
Hmm.
it's South Texas.
Right.
So that's just the norm to me, knowing how to speak and understand certain Spanish words, the culture, the food, obviously. That's what I grew up in.
Right.
So for me, that's what Texas is, is the blend of those two cultures.
Hmm. It's definitely good, and I think you're really capitalizing using that, doing the Spanish podcast piece. Do you guys do that once a week, or tell us about your podcast? Is it once a week or?
My podcast is once a week, every Wednesday at 7:15. We try to do the Spanish one every Thursday. We've had a couple misses recently, but that's because, for instance, last week Yarisa's mom was getting married, right? So like, there's just there's not. Um, Sometimes there's just not going to be a podcast, but generally she does hers on Thursdays at 7,
Hmm.
and we're going to try Gabe's wife, Iris, who's also one of the owners of Contractor Connection. She's also bilingual, and so she might be doing some as well. That way, we don't have any more gaps in the episodes of those. But yeah, we try to get a weekly episode of Spanish as well out there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think the Spanish thing is just such a good idea. Um, it's really good. I mean, I know Spanish. I can hear Spanish for the most part, but I can't speak it. So I, whenever she was speaking, I watched it for maybe like 2 or 3 minutes, picked up on a couple words. I was like, yeah, she's spitting.
Yeah,
But
I sit there and I watch the whole show obviously, and I understand some of it. But it's just so entertaining to me. Spanish has such a good flow to it conversationally.
yeah,
Um, and you really see that when she's on there riffing with some of the other Hispanic business owners, other people who are fluent in Spanish, and they're just going through it,
hmm,
and they get fantastic viewership numbers when they come on too. They have a real audience.
I was about to ask which one does better, the English or Spanish? I would think the Spanish.
I think the Spanish has like the top two that we've done so far, but in general, they're about even.
Mm,
Um, just because obviously for the Spanish one, it's a smaller target audience. It's a
right.
smaller audience in general, but it's a much more in tuned audience because they don't have a lot of things that are marketed directly towards them.
Yep.
They don't have an opportunity to get a lot of things that come directly to them like this. And so, I would say the Spanish has been the most popular on the first one they did and one they did recently. But they both get viewership numbers typically around 1,000 or a little bit more when it's all said and done.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's cool. I figured the Spanish might have a little more viewership because there's not many podcasts like that in Spanish.
No,
I don't know of one actually.
yeah,
Um,
and there is
so
quite a few podcasts in English. I mean,
yeah, but just not in Spanish.
yeah, exactly.
And I mean, I don't think she was reading from a script. She was just talking and going though. She was awesome.
Yeah, no, she's very talented like that. She is super intelligent. She's brought a lot of really good ideas to the group, and she already knows. She has such a knowledge of what's going on that it all flows straight from the brain for her.
That's awesome. Definitely sounds like a superstar you guys got.
Yes,
You need a couple of those couple of those in your life and things get a little bit easier.
absolutely.
That's awesome. What other events do you have coming up besides the DFW event? You got your DFW. What's next after that?
With the DFW group coming up, we have a Houston one at the end of May. We're starting our classes in Austin that we hope to start bringing to the other towns as well. That first one is May 2nd for our, like I said, our legal class. We'll have a couple lawyers there answering questions, and we'll also have some generic contracts. We'll be going over contracts and liens for that. And then in June, we're having our 1 year anniversary, basically verified member only party here in Austin, where we're going to give out awards, contractor of the year award, plumber of the year award. I think we have about 15, 16 or 17. And we're going to throw a party for the verified members. And we've got some votes going on right now. I don't know if you saw over the weekend, but somebody got a bunch of bots to vote for one of the companies. And so we're going
I
to
didn't
have,
see that.
yeah,
Wow,
I got a couple phone calls pretty quick that somebody's uh, vote count went from like 4 to 258 in about 2 hours. And you
that's
can go and
impressive.
see on the polls who votes. And so I start going through, and it's like, it's every type of bot account you can imagine. So I'm going to go deal with that actually here in a little bit. Uh,
Yeah.
but it's been pretty cool. We'll have that coming up, and then we want to have in June another DFW event. Ideally, that one will be in Dallas as
Hmm.
opposed to Fort Worth, and start making monthly events. We start out with happy hours, and then eventually we start bringing in our bigger type of events. Like we have barbecue cook off, we have a chili cook off, and then we have a tacos and tequila. And we'd like to do those in all of the Triangle cities by the end of this year.
For sure. There's you can even do like Fort Worth, Dallas, and then go up to Allen, McKinney because you still have Frisco in that whole area. Not a lot of them would always travel to Fort Worth or Dallas. So
Yeah.
there's a couple different networks here around DFW. I know we're not as big as Houston, but I
I
want
mean,
to.
Dallas Fort Worth geographically is still a massive area.
Yeah,
And as you know, Austin's small. Like Austin is, I mean, I guess even if you count from Georgetown to Buda or Kyle, that it's still a fraction of the size that DFW and Houston are, which is why eventually we'll probably have multiple groups in each one of those towns.
right.
Um,
I think you talked
because
about breaking it up. Yeah,
yeah, because just somebody I can just imagine somebody in Southwest Fort Worth isn't going to be too interested in taking jobs up in Allen or Frisco, or maybe
right,
they are. Maybe this is where the good jobs are, but it's just geographic wise, we want to keep it within a certain number of miles and a certain number of driving distance.
right.
Otherwise, it doesn't make as much sense to the people that are in the group.
Exactly. Yeah, I have a house in Arlington, and I live in Dallas. I network with a lot of people up in McKinney area, and I had someone who I wanted to work on my house in Arlington, but they lived up in McKinney. It was just obviously too far, over an hour drive.
Yeah.
Not really worth it for them.
Yeah,
Um,
that's typically the radius that most construction people, at least around here, have is they'll go an hour out from downtown.
mhm.
So
That's not too bad. That's not too
yeah.
bad. But yeah, driving more than that's definitely more of a headache. So we have a DFW event. I know I kind of talked about it previously, but there's another group that I started talking to. The owner of the business is it's Chantel Boucher, and she runs Believers in Business. There's Believers in Business Creative and Believers in Business Social. Believers in Business Creative, it's just like a business consulting company. They do a lot of marketing promotions. She has a TV show that's up for grabs. It's like a game show. It's pretty interesting. It's pretty cool. But they're going to be out there today. That networking event is actually today. Starts at 6 p.m. It's at Rock and Brews in the Colony. This is going to be her second event. The first event was sold out. There's a little over 100 people, and this event was sold out. Um, I'm sure there's over 100 people, but it's also a bigger venue than the last one. So I don't know how many people are going to be there, but this is only her second event, and I just thought that was pretty crazy. One thing that she does that was very, very different from other networking events I went to, um, she there's a raffle at the end of the night, and the raffle has like a bunch of stuff that people donate or she brings. And there was you'll like this. There was like a trip for four to Disney. There was guns and stuff like that. So it's
Oh
been
yeah, there's a Texas party right there.
yeah, man. It was pretty interesting. So everyone wanted to join the raffle, but whenever you got there, you got a little pamphlet, and the pamphlet kind of explained the program, the event, and then I had a list of all the sponsors. And your objective was to go and talk to all the sponsors because uh and they weren't identified as well as you would think. So you really had to go and talk to everyone. You had to talk to all the sponsors, and the sponsor gave you a sticker that gets put next to their name on the pamphlet. At the end of the night, you have a sticker next to everyone. Turn in your pamphlet, and that's your raffle ticket. Then you just get drawn.
Oh, that's
Um,
pretty cool.
so it's an interesting way that she integrated the networking aspect. So people like have to like walk around and talk to individual people to figure out who they are and if they're a sponsor. Um, but yeah, I mean, there are small identifiers like a gold bracelet compared to a silver bracelet, but at the same time, it's still a lot of fun talking to everyone and figuring out who they are. It really forces people and makes them want to network. And um, once a couple people found like the last couple sponsors, you just saw like a single file line of all these people wanting to talk to a sponsor because they're trying to finish up their raffle because they just got caught up talking to everyone else.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a pretty damn good event that she ran. I was really impressed, and that's why I talked to her, found out a little bit more. I had her on the podcast as well to talk about the event and all that stuff. But yeah, that's today, and I'm pretty excited. I think these new groups and things that people are doing and bringing online communities to like the virtual real world. It's cool to see. It's cool to see. It's like whenever you were a lot younger, you're playing video games with people you don't even know. You become friends with them, and then you meet them in person. It's like a different kind of relationship.
Yep, it
And
absolutely is, and I have friends like that. When I moved to Austin, I knew maybe like 7 or 8 people, maybe 10 people,
mhm.
and I would just meet people through Facebook. They like my memes, I like their memes, that kind of thing,
Yeah, yeah.
and then we find something that we'd start chatting about, and we'd have lunch or drinks, and that's how friends are made these days.
Yeah, no, for sure. I would much rather meet someone online and then in person just because that feels safer nowadays and like I'm not wasting as much time because you just have so many different people and you don't know what they do, who they are, and they just come up to you and start talking. You don't have any context about what they've done. You don't know any references, you don't know their network. Yeah, it's fun to like play the ice breaking game and all that stuff. But I think it just puts a more warmth to the meeting whenever you've already met them online.
Definitely.
Like when I meet you, it's going to be a nice firm handshake. It's not going to be one of those weird, "Hey man, nice to meet
Yeah,
you." Like yeah, it's just nice to finally meet you. That's pretty much what it
exactly.
comes down to. And what it used to be before this, it was mainly emails. It was mainly emails that people kind of connected first on. That was one of the original networking things. Can you imagine just
That was
surviving on emails?
before, yeah, that was before because I used to be a teacher, so I didn't have to do any networking back then. So
Nice,
that was before I did any of that. Luckily, um, I have a really good organic base on Facebook, both business wise and personally. So, and kind of able to use one to help the other.
for sure. Um, and So I'm curious about everything that you're involved in, and I want people to know how they can get involved as well. Because there's a couple of things that you're just doing by yourself, you're doing with other people, and things you're doing with a group of people. Um, what, I mean, you want to start from the top, tell them what businesses you own, what you're doing, what you're running?
Yeah, so the businesses that I own, and really what puts food on the table for me right now is being a real estate agent. I've been an agent for 7 years. It's not what I market the most, but I do still market it. I push out a lot of macroeconomic stats. I do a lot of digital farming, and luckily, I've been able to weather these last couple of years here in Austin, where we've gone through an absolute real estate crash. I remember moving here in 2017 and everybody saying, "Oh, Austin's recession proof, this and that." Da, 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 da. That is wrong. It is tough right now, but we're making it. Realtor first and foremost. It's independent contractor as an independent contractor, but I work under All City Brokerage with Kevin Scanlon, who's an amazing broker,
Nice.
and and then I own Contractor Connection. Um, and that's this what we've already talked about pretty
Hmm.
extensively. I own
And that,
a what's up?
I was just going to say, and that's like a huge network. That's more than one business because all those could easily turn into partnerships.
Well,
Um,
that's the idea, and that's what we're trying to do. Like I went down last week in San Antonio, met with a woman named Mackenzie Peel, who's amazing, and she's got a lot of connections and a lot of followers in San Antonio, so she can be our San Antonio partner. Because the reality is, I can't be what I am in Austin in all the other cities. In each one of these other cities, I'm going to need one or two or three people. Like Yaritz is kind of that person in Austin, honestly.
Right.
That kind of helps, build out and meet people that are outside of one person's sphere or another person's.
Hmm.
So that's one of the things I'm actually kind of hoping when I meet you and other people in person in Dallas is to find some on the ground partners that can help make it happen better than I can just from Austin.
Right. Right. No, I get it. What uh are you in any other companies right now, or that's mainly
No, we have our marketing company, um, which is Contractor Up. We build websites, SEO, the digital flyers, those kind of things. We do it
nice?
all at flat rates, pretty cheaper than some of the quotes we've got from some of the other places. So it's just kind of like a added level of service to what we offer in Contractor Connection, but you don't have to be in Contractor Connection to work with Contractor Up, or vice versa.
Right.
And so that just kicked off about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And we're trying to get that rolling. And then I also own a construction company called Hammersmith Consulting and Design. And through that, all I do at this point, because I used to own Hammersmith Construction and Renovation, and we had 33 in-house employees. We were running like 16 projects at a time. We had like 3 million, I think, in revenue, and it almost killed me. So what I do with the new Hammersmith is essentially I find these jobs and then I just send out the scope to verified members. They each take a part of the scope. They're verified members. I don't have to babysit them. I don't have to go through and have any headaches with it. I hire them out. They take care of what they need to. And so it's actually a kind of win-win, in fact, in the terms that I get to collect a little bit of a GC fee on top of that. But I also get to promote out and send out more work to our businesses, um, which everybody loves that, right? So
Right.
we've got a house that was burned in the interior down to the studs in Austin, in South Austin, that we're working on, and a casita in downtown Austin, that hopefully we will get approved on next week, and then we can get started on that pretty soon.
Is one of those the hoarder house?
No, that hoarder house was from 2019.
Uh,
Um, that house will forever live in my memory as the most disgusting thing that I've ever seen. There's three different holes in the roof. There was a vulture's nest. There was like an 8-foot rat snake in there. The whole reason we were able to find that house is because somebody had posted in a Facebook neighborhood group that coyotes were getting into the backyard and they were scared for their pets. And so the city was literally about to condemn this house, and the investor that we were working with at the time basically went to her and he was like, a week from now, you're going to, because she was a hoarder, like she wasn't letting go of that house. She did not want to let go of that house, even
mhm.
still. But the city was like, you have a week or we're going to condemn it. So she's basically under that. She sold it to us. She would show up while we were clearing out the trash from that place and dig stuff out of the dumpsters to take Lord knows where. But that took 14 40-yard dumpsters of trash
Wow.
to clear out. Like it was like a 1,500 square foot house.
What ended up happening to the house? You said it was back in 2019?
Yeah. We flipped it for a really awesome profit. Because
Nice.
that was one of the ones that we did a lot of work on, not necessarily by choice, but nobody else wanted to go in and clean that house out. Like we hired 3 different demo companies. They're like, I don't even want to get paid. I'm leaving. Like I don't want
It
this.
was that bad?
Oh, it
I
was
mean,
really
like
bad.
hiring someone. I saw the pictures, the video. It was crazy. Like there's a couple feet worth of stuff in every room.
Yeah, there was, and I'm 5'6" on a good day, and I could touch the ceilings of these rooms with no issue whatsoever by standing on the trash. And the problem is yeah, there's cool stuff like baseball cards and comics from like the 70s and the 60s, but mixed in together with like a bag of Fritos from 1987. Like I didn't even want to open that bag. It would be like
Oh my God.
biohazard. The bathrooms were just disgusting but it had actually gotten so gross that even squatters wouldn't go in there anymore. Like that
Wow.
was how nasty that house was. So it was just exposed the elements. It's hopefully the most disgusting house that I'll ever see or work inside of.
Yeah. There's that TV show, The Filthiest Jobs? I mean, that's definitely what it kind of reminded me of. I
Yeah.
can't, I'd wear like a hazmat suit or something. Did you have to clean out any of it?
Oh yeah, I like I said, a lot of the companies wouldn't do it. So Scott also owned the construction company with me at the time, and he and I and the owner showed up a couple times, but I think about 8 or 9 of those dumpsters was just Scott and I with the wheelbarrow and gosh, maybe 50 boxes of contractor bags, 100 boxes. I don't even know, but it's just
Oh,
yeah, and it's just when you get to the bottom layer too, you can only just shovel it up because the moisture was compact down there, and it was just like this wet blob of trash and food that had been there since the
crustated.
late '80s. It was disgusting.
That's wild. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've only seen TV shows. You got to live in it. Not live, but you got to visit
thankfully
it and
not live.
experience it.
I
Yeah.
have, and it's not just the hoarder house, but I've gone into you. I've worked with a lot of flippers. I flipped over 50 houses. And there are some houses you go into and you just wonder how people live there
Yep.
because of the condition of the inside, things from mold, um, and animal feces everywhere, insects.
I can't believe the
I'm
holes in the
talking
roof and
about
all
like
that stuff.
yeah, just like rampant stuff. So it blows my mind sometimes some of the things that I've seen.
That's pretty crazy. And you used to do like a bunch of fix and flips?
I did, and I did really well at it until the crash of 22, and
Hmm.
so still trying to recover from that, but hope to get back into it. I love doing it. I have even better partners for it now. But in Austin, it still doesn't quite make a lot of sense because the prices are still slightly degrading a little bit. It's still hard to market like it used to be.
Right.
So, kind of looking more into the other 3 cities around San Antonio, Dallas, and Austin. So, I mean, San Antonio, Dallas, and Houston, looking at projects there and being able to lean on contractor connection people that I meet in those towns.
Right. It seems like the inflation hit Austin first out of all of them, and then hit probably San Antonio, and then it hit Dallas. Maybe
Yes.
maybe in that order is what it feels like. At least from my conversations with a handful of people just about interest rates and stuff like that, seeing how rent has skyrocketed, and now once again the renting an apartment is now cheaper than owning a home, which is to me how it should be, but at the same time, like, it's taken this long.
Yeah.
But also, you shouldn't have to increase like home value 200% in order to make that happen either. Um, it's just it's
It
definitely a
was while
racket.
Austin's market went very parabolic to where we literally saw, I think, about 100% appreciation within about 2 years, which is completely unsustainable, right?
Right.
Like there was houses at one of my favorite zip codes to flip in Austin is 78745. There are houses that we had bought for two in the twos, sold for the fours, maybe the low fives,
Hmm.
that were being sold in the fours and fives in regular condition, and flips were going in the 900s, literally like a year or two later. And so that's where we went in, and we were trying to sell these houses that we had bought at 500 for 900, and it all collapsed and came back down. Um, and Austin prices still have a little bit further to go for the regression of the mean. But as you really rightly pointed out, it hit Austin first. And so Austin crashed first. Austin crashed Easter of 22 is when it started, and by the end of 22, it was you were just seeing you're still seeing in Austin right now the biggest statistic in the MLS by far is price decreases, about 2,000 a week. To give you an idea, there's only about 1,500 to 1,800 new listings coming on a week. So there's more price decreases than new listings every single week here in Austin. And I
Damn.
think that's just now starting to hit the Dallas area, whereas Austin's kind of stabilized. Now, y'all didn't go as parabolically up,
No.
so hopefully the come down won't be as parabolically bad, because what that's done is it's trapped a lot of people in their house. They can't sell their house for $900,000 right now. You know, they're going to be
Mhm.
in that house underwater for a decade, probably,
Yep.
if we're being quite honest, unless inflation just really takes off again. And I really hope that nobody's rooting for that. You know,
Right. Right.
it's already bad enough as it is.
Yeah, it's the same thing with apartments. It's pretty expensive to stay in an apartment nowadays. And now that people kind of got in, they have a locked rate with the apartment. The apartment doesn't increase the rate too much from year to year, but whenever someone moves in, it's getting jacked up, like
Yep.
super high. So you don't see as many people moving right now. Usually you see a bunch of moving trucks beginning of the month, middle of the month, and the end. And I haven't really seen much whenever I'm driving throughout the day. Just usually you see like that white and orange truck that's out front of a bunch of apartment complexes, or now they have that box that they're putting out there,
Yep.
potta box or potty box or whatever you
Yeah,
call
no,
it.
the pods, those are, and they're really useful too.
Yeah,
But yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I think in terms of rent, we've seen pretty decent decreases in rent. Some of the investors that I've worked with, rents have lowered a few $100 a month in same units year over year. Um,
that's awesome.
and it's awesome
That's good.
for people, not the landlord, but honestly, like they've kind of
Yeah,
cleaned
yeah,
up lately. So, and then hopefully the tax appraisals follow suit, which they have. A lot of the appraisals are coming in lower this year than they have last year.
right.
Not all, but some. And so it's just, it's a very interesting thing to watch. And hopefully rents in Dallas will come back down a little bit too, because everybody needs a place to live. You know, I don't want to get too political, but I believe you work a full time job, you should be able to afford a place, even if it's just a one bedroom efficiency. And right now, that's
Agreed.
not always the case. And
Yeah,
so, just would like to, even as a real estate agent, I would love for prices to come down a little bit further so people can actually get in the door.
yeah. And especially because you're getting to that age group where people are coming, there's that big rush of people coming out of high school who want to get a home, but now they're getting persuaded not to get a home yet just because of interest rates and inflation.
Yep.
So it's really deterring a lot of new people, giving them a bad taste in their mouth that lasts for a very long time. It was something similar that happened in 2008 during the mortgage crisis. Um, when I heard about that and I was in it and around it, I didn't want to buy a house. It affected me.
Yeah.
Um, and
And
yeah,
the
it
reality
just,
is, the funny thing is, in 2008, if you had bought those houses, you'd be a millionaire right now,
yeah, yeah,
And that's when but for that, what I would say is, if you are a renter and you want to buy, ignore the noise. If you can, get yourself into a home, because I don't think they're going to go down much further. And not only that, but typically, if you're buying a house, you want to be in there for about 5 to 7 years anyway. If you're not going to be in a house for at least 5 years, uh, realtors are not going to really like that I say this, but you probably should just rent, because
right,
there is, as and you know this, there is a cost to buying a house outside of just the price, just like there's a cost of selling a house outside of just the price. And you've got to pay that each way. So you can't, oh, I'll buy a house for 300,000 and then 4 years later I'll sell it for 350,000. Well, your closing costs are going to eat the vast majority of that. You
right,
really want to build up some real equity in there before you start thinking about doing that, unless life is just causing you to move.
right. Do you there's a whole bunch of little laws and tricks you could do whenever you're starting to invest. Like you can get into a property, live there for a year, keep the interest rate, and just start renting it out after a year, stuff like that. There's a whole bunch of tricks that I've kind of learned here and there like that. I haven't used that rule specifically, but I plan on using that in the future. Do you happen to know of any kind of like other tricks to share that might help people get into the investing side of real estate?
So one of my favorite ones that has probably a fairly low, if you're investing in real estate, there's a bar of entry to it, right? Like you
Right.
can't do it with $5,000. It's just not possible. But I think one of the lowest bars of entry, and what I learned from a gentleman named Jordan Moorhead, who's a pretty successful agent in Austin, and he does this a lot, is house hacking duplexes and triplexes, where you can buy those all under one note, FHA even. You live in one, and then you rent out the other. Live there for a
Hmm.
couple years, renovate it, turn around and sell it as a cash flowing appreciated property, and go do it again. Now he does fantastic with that, and he gets the appreciation because of the work he does inside of those, and also how he structures his deals. So that to me, if you are a person who, and I don't want to be discriminatory in any way, but if you are single, or it's just you and your wife or husband, or however you structure partner, whatever, um, you can do something like that and do it 3 or 4 times and really get set. Whether you end up selling those duplexes, or you can do cash out refis of those and then go on and move your FHA to the next one. If you're VA, you can use your VA benefits to do those, and then you're not putting any money down onto those.
Hmm.
So those are that's what I would do if I didn't have 3 kids, a father-in-law, and 3 dogs that live with me.
Right.
I'm not moving. I'm lucky. I've lived in this house for 5 years now. We refinanced in 21 at a 2.25 rate. I'm gonna live here for
Wow.
a long time. So
That's insane.
yeah,
That's insane. How'd you get that?
just I've always really liked macroeconomics, and whenever the 10-year hit, like I think it was like 0.68 or 0.69, somewhere around there. I called up the lender because we had an FHA loan, and you can do streamline. If your interest rate is lower than when you bought it by like a point,
Hmm.
then you don't have to turn in a bunch of new documents or anything like that. They use your old stuff, and they essentially just refinance it down to the new rate. And my
Yep.
original rate wasn't bad to begin with. It was like 4.575, something like that.
Still though, two.
Yeah, but I looked in and I called and I was like, so what is the rate that we would get? And she was like, somewhere between 2 and 2.5. And I was like, how soon can we do this?
Yeah.
And it took a little while to close. But yeah, we were able to close that out at 2.25, and which is amazing because it's literally less than what I pay in property taxes.
Yeah. That's crazy. That is insane. You won't hear about that for a while. You won't
I
hear
don't
about that
think
for a while.
anybody who thinks that the 2s and the 3% are coming back ever again, I don't think that they are, unless we have something catastrophic happen, like a pandemic and a shutdown of the economy for a year. I
Hmm.
don't think that we'll see those ever again. They weren't really healthy for the economy or anybody else for that matter. So 4 to 5% is a pretty good and nice, safe place to be.
Right. Right. For sure, man. Well, I know we're almost to that hour point. You want to touch on the networking event, DFW, one more time
Yeah,
next week.
Woodrow's in Fort Worth, May 7th, 6 to 8. 6 to 8 question mark. Like I said, we don't ring a bell at the end. Would love to meet as many people in person. And like I said, looking for a couple people who can help partner with us and grow out the DFW group, because, as you know, it's growing by the hundreds every single week.
Hmm.
And it's starting to fill out. There's starting to be a culture built there. We'd love for some people to be a part of that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's definitely a great group to be a part of. Again, that's Contractor Connection DFW.
Yep.
and join that Facebook group. Feel free to check them out. If you're a contractor, definitely go in there. If you're not a contractor, still go in there because you'll need a contractor at some point, whether you own a house now, own a house in the future, or maybe you just want to be able to know how much something is and not get screwed. That's the group to
Yes,
go to.
exactly.
That's the group to go to. But yeah, man, I'm excited to meet you when you come up here. I'm excited to
Definitely. I'm
jo-
excited to meet you as well.
join the community. I think it's going to be definitely be a great event.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, man, for sure. It was definitely good having you on here. And happy birthday one more time, man.
Yeah. Thanks,
That,
dude.
that's awesome. Have a solid week, man. See you
All
next
right,
week.
you too. Later, Ed.